Well, good evening, and welcome. I want to thank you so much for joining, everyone. This is your night. This is a Saturday night, talking sip. Today is the 10th of um, August 2024. I want to thank those joining me on Instagram, those on TikTok, those on Facebook, and those on YouTube as well. Thank you so much. Not really, bro. It just feels off. It feels off in another man's country. Hmm. Sean, you not even say good evening. You're just like Trump with that lady. The lady said to Trump, Trump said to the lady, you don't even say good evening. You didn't even say hi, how are you, welcome. You just went straight into the issue. Now I'm just winding you up. You know what I mean? Well, it was a very good point that you mentioned there, and I hope we join in and we have this sort of discussion because, well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say, the topic tonight, as you can see, which is up there, and I let it roll across the screen, and the topic is finding identity abroad. Do immigrants ever feel at home? You know, finding identity abroad. Do immigrants feel at home? And when I say immigrants, I'm also talking about people who are born in the different countries. And I look at the main countries, like I would say the UK, the USA, Canada. Those are sort of main countries to a certain extent. They call it the diaspora, the diaspora. And what we saw of recent days in the UK, we saw whereby there were migrants. No, let's put it this way. There was like attack. There were riots, and things that triggered it were things of era of immigration. You know, issue whereby there were false information, which was going around. About the gentleman, or the, I don't like to use the word gentleman, but the vermin, or that person who actually killed the three girls. And the information which was going around was saying that this person was so, this person was this person was that, and all of it was fake, you know? And yeah, and it created a stink, I must say. But hey, I don't want to jump in too much. Actually, I don't want to jump in too much. I just want to say hi to everyone. And tonight is Saturday night. What are you drinking? What are you drinking tonight? What are you drinking tonight? I'm having I'm gonna have some wine. Eat for some wine. I did some gardening today out there. Well, cutting away the weeds. Cutting away the weeds. So it's a very, very hot day. I like getting outside there and cutting the garden. Wish there was a coconut tree that I could have actually climbed and climb and cut down some coconut and eat it at the back of the yard with some mangoes or so like that, you know, and think that I'm in Jamaica, which is like sometimes you're dreaming. And yeah, so today was a great day. So I'm drinking some wine, and you can tell me what you're drinking as well. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, Sean, what are you drinking? Yeah, and there is also, I saw some very strange thing. I saw the 4x400 a while ago, not so long ago, whereby the Jamaican, she actually ran out. Actually, she dropped the button. She fell the button. Let me just send something here. I don't know if you guys saw it a while ago. She dropped the button, man. I don't know. Since the opening of this this World Olympics thing, it's just been a massive turnoff, I must say. You know, it's like, put it this way, it's like the hand of God is not on it. You know, there is a different hand which is upon this particular Olympics or so. I don't know if anybody have that sort of thinking of that feeling or so, whereby Jamaicans have not been doing that well with this Olympics. But hey, at the same time, we got a lot of new kids on the block, and that is good. So without further ado, let me just start the show, okay? Well, good evening, and thank you so much for joining me tonight on Talk and Sip Saturday night, Silver and Citadel here in the UK. For those on Instagram and Facebook, whatever, please kindly share it, share the thing. And if you want to come on, as a matter of fact, I will say this: if you want to come on to the show and you want to actually give your view and your perspective, there are two different ways. All right, actually I'm gonna say this. There's a calling number. Yep. Let me see if I can find that. I never actually do that before. Not much time, but let me share the number that people can actually call in. Yes, to call in. Yeah, that's the number to call in. Yeah, you can call in on that number. Just want to make sure that that is hooked up. And also, if you want to join in and you want to be to contribute to the discussion and you want to come in, just let me know and I can facilitate that as well. Uh, Let me see. The link to that is, let me see, let me find that link. Dun, 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 dun. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I can't find it now. Let me see. Dun. Yep. For guests to call in to participate, um, there is the link. There we are. Link is right there. For guests to participate live in the studio, you can join in as well. You can do that. Yep. There is that possibility. Um, and I think the thing is that for those on Instagram, Instagram is only live during the live of the show. After that, it goes. So you're not going to be able to see it after. But you can go onto the YouTube channel and you can see it on YouTube, Silver TV YouTube channel, and also same thing as for TikTok. But one of the best thing to do is to come over onto uh, TikTok as well. Yeah, the one of the very interesting thing about immigrants or immigration. You see, a lot of persons come to the UK, a lot of persons come to Canada, persons go to USA. Um, you know, they see this as key places to go for the better their life. And and it's very strange that when white persons go to different countries, say for instance they go to, say you leave from the UK, you go to America, and you leave from America or wherever, you go to Jamaica, you're deemed to be expatriates. That's a term which is used as expatriate. Immigration is not used. You're not like a migrant or immigrant. But of course, when black and brown people go to different places, they're deemed to be immigrants. I'm an immigrant in the UK, even though I got my British citizenship, as well. And many persons who are actually even born in the UK, are born in America, born or so, they're deemed to be somewhat called immigrants in a sense, because it is like the level of acceptance is not there, or they don't feel like belonged. Or question, do you feel belonged? Do you feel accepted? Or do you feel like you're a part of the process to build a nation? Because many years ago, for argument's sake, when the Windrush came aboard, and when persons were invited to come to the UK or so, you're invited there to build and to build and to build, you know. And as I was talking about on Thursday night on my show, in review and reviewing some of the things which happened of recent days in the UK with the riots, which was, very scary. I see some paperwork like in Jamaica. They're saying that people in Jamaica was feeling very scared. I question the fact that people are feeling scared. name your boss or your boss, But immigration and immigrants, and I sort of mentioned this on Thursday night. Immigrants bring a wide range of benefits to the UK, to the USA, to Canada, contributing to its economy. And worldwide, immigrants, culture, society, uh, global standing, and do many fantastic things. You see, I always say that with an immigrant mentality, you sort of don't see sometimes certain things. It's like maybe, like sometimes someone working for a period of time in a particular industry, maybe they're agency or maybe they are just on contract. They don't sometimes get into the politics of certain things and they just really go in there and just full on and just really try to do what they have to do. You know. But one of the things about immigration, right? And that is why countries, even though they might try to play around with it, there's something that the figures don't mess with, and something that the figures is authentic about, and that is the labor force and skills. Immigrants help fill gaps in the labor market, particularly in sectors like healthcare, agriculture, constructions, and hospitality. They bring diverse skills, often taking on jobs that are hard to fill by the native population. Some people who go very hard at it and say the people are lazy and then worthless and they don't want to do the work, so therefore they come and they bring in immigrants to do those bits. I went to the hospital the other day in St. Thomas Hospital um, to do a eye check. I took the bus. It was great actually taking the bus in the UK. Going through Brixton, drive down to Brixton, and just jump on the bus, and it was awesome, and that's why I said we got to be careful when we spread these messages out there, and people sort of say they're scared. Scared is really wonderful, nice sunny day. So the Mary Seacole artistic statue there as well. But one of the things that I saw, and when people say it all the while, when you go into the hospital, and every single person that dealt with me, they were from different countries, and you can see and you can listen from their accent. England, they weren't born in, you know, they were actually immigrants. Even the doctor, actually, that I saw was Asian, and majority of the persons that you saw in uniforms, they were persons of black and brown. You know, and that is the whole thing about the labor force. Innovation and entrepreneurship. Immigrants are known for their entrepreneurial spirit, and that's what I was saying. With many starting business that create jobs and drive innovation, UK has a high number of immigrant-founded companies, particularly in tech and retail, second to none. Tax contribution, that's a massive factor again. You know, some years ago, I believe Boris Johnson was talking about, I don't think it happened, but talking about amnesty, talking about amnesty for persons who were not regularized. And that amnesty was to bring those persons out and bring them into the system, whereby, bringing in that tax base, which would benefit the economy. Immigrants, particularly those of working age, contribute significantly to public finances through taxes. Studies show that immigrants typically contribute more in taxes than they receive in public benefits, helping to fund public service like the NHS. And one of the things about immigrants as well, especially in the being in the school industry and in the education sector, a lot of like myself came into this country and studied. You paid a lot for your school fees. You paid a lot for your university fees. It wasn't anything in comparison to what the Brits paid, and that was something which the UK rely on. This foreign exchange that people coming in to study also benefit fantastically, and the nation benefit from that. That is something which is definitely second to none. Lawyers, doctors, wherever they come, and you can see them that they are actually, wanting to better themselves. Cultural enrichment, diversity and multiculturalism. Immigration has made the UK a multicultural society, enriching its cultural landscape. Diversity is reflected in food, music, art, festivals celebrated across the country, social contributions. Immigrants bring different perspectives. You know, I know I'm saying this again, and I said it on Thursday night, but I just want to home in onto it because at times, as my topic said, do people feel at home? Do they feel not at home? Do they feel scared or so? But I believe that persons who are in these countries, immigrants also, need to feel at home and not feel scared and to be feel a part of the system. Population growth and aging population, immigration helps mitigate the effect of an aging population by bringing in younger workers, which is crucial for sustaining economic growth and supporting the pension system. Birth rate, and this is crucial. Immigrants communities often have higher birth rates, contributing to population growth and helping to balance demographics. And one could go further, talk about global connections, social services, public life, challenges, and public perception. One could go very far talking about immigration. And and when we thought of recently, whereby you had the riots in the UK, and the riots in the UK, I believe I believe it's an opportunity. I believe it's an opportunity. I believe it's an opportunity that if one not careful, one can miss. It's an opportunity for a conversation. And I know it sometimes sounds like it's like a narrative, a little rhetoric by saying, let's have this conversation, let's have this talk. But I believe very strongly that there's a need for a conversation, a conversation between different communities, a contribution between the indigenous, the and also the different and foreigners also. And I believe that government leaders need to take that rightful place as well. But I want to just say something here, and I do recall when the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, of recent days, was talking about social media and the impact of social media and the fake news and the misinformation and the disinformation which was going around. I do remember that very carefully and very strongly. And many persons were saying that the Prime Minister was going to seek out and search a person that they know how to do it. And lo and behold, what we're seeing in the UK is exactly that. You know, the recent riots which took place in the UK. And I'll say again that when the three girls were killed and the 10 persons were um, attacked, and the guys being charged for murder, 3 counts of murder, and 10 counts of, I believe, of months of attempted murder. There was a name which was going around initially. Yes, there's a name which was going around initially. There's a picture, and I saw it, which was going around initially on TikTok. There were narratives about religion or so, which was going around about this person initially. And one, two, three, they were all fake. They were not true. They were what we call it alternative fact. And the courts had to come out, and the courts had to what the courts had to do. The courts had to disclose the name of the person. The courts had to um, go against what they normally do when you got a person of under 18 years of age. They tend to protect that person because one of the thinking behind that is that when a person of such young age commits crime or so, there's an opportunity it can be looked for them to better themselves. So that is why they sort of keep that on the wraps, but they disclose the name. They disclose the name of the person, and because of to quell the disingenuous and the misinformation and the disinformation which was going around. That's what they did. And if they didn't do that, then I believe there could be more things happening, because many people are running with these names, people are running with these narratives, and they were going into different communities, attacking mosques, attacking communities or so, and said, we got to protect our children and everything like that. Now, then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, then the prime minister came out and said, we're going to find these persons. The prime minister, of course, was the former director of public prosecution, and said, we're going to find this person. The present director of public prosecution also said, we're going to find these persons. The police also said, the commissioner of police said, we're going to find these persons as well. And lo and behold, they're knocking down doors. We are seeing, and people are sending me even on WhatsApp to say, what is happening? Is it now that people are going into people's home? But no, it's not that it is new. It is just that it intensified based on what took place of recent days. So now police are actually saying that we are going to find you. We are going to knock on your door. We are going to be knocking, and we're going to come for you. No matter where you are, we are going to come for you. And they are coming for them. Yeah. They are coming for the person. They are arresting them. They're taking them to court. They're actually sentencing them. There have been 20, 30 or so, persons who have been convicted already. So the prime minister of Jamaica do have a point, and I don't believe it is that one is sort of silencing the voices on social media, because I've never been, well, actually I was silenced recently because I posted something of recent days about the Olympics in the opening, and Facebook sort of took down that post. One in a long time, one in a long time that they have done that. So therefore, yeah, social media is not going to take down things unless it manifests into some sort of absurdity. It manifests into things of what should I say, disillusion, fake, alternative fact, misinformation, and disinformation. So one has got to be so very, I would say, careful as to what you put out there. Careful as to what you retweet out there. Careful as you look for likes and dislikes and viral, that you watch closely and guard your integrity. Guard, as much as possible, because people are trigger fingered, and sometimes persons just like to share things. One of the classical thing is that I will get, sometimes person will send send information to me, send what should I say, um videos, or send voice notes, and send things to say that this is happening, way, and then I'll push back. I'll sometimes push back. And most times I push back, and I'll say, can you tell me who sent it? Can you tell me who the author is? Can you tell me their name, their number? Can you verify it? And especially by sending a video, can you verify the video? Can you authenticate it? Because during the course of this recent riots in the UK, and lots of the protests which was happening, people were sending around videos, and some videos weren't of this era. Some videos were of other eras, all the different demonstrations, all the different times. And what it was, just whipping into a fancy, whipping it up, whipping it up, whipping it up. Because we're in this new space now. We're in this new era. Yes, we're in this new era of of social media. Yeah, social media. We're in this era, and no matter what we do, I don't think we're gonna get rid of it. and I think it's here to stay, and we've got to work with it. And therefore, there are going to be new laws, new guidelines, and new clamping down on disinformation, new clamping down on misinformation, and new clamping down on fake news and alternative fact, as the Donald Trump would say, alternative fact. Yeah. So yeah. So that's it there. That's it. And so I have to empathize and recognize where the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, is coming from, and um, and what he has said and what they can do, if anything, to track and trace, is exactly what the UK government is doing, tracking and tracing persons who posted misinformation, disinformation, and all these different things that triggered the massive riot which we saw of recent days. And even also with this list of places which were being put out there, a lot of places which were put out there, it makes you wonder as well, if it was genuine or if it was fake or people were being played. One has got to be critical and very analytical with what we see out there. You know. But the topic tonight is finding identity abroad. Do immigrants really ever feel at home? And I got to ask that question. As an immigrant in the UK, in the USA, in Canada, or wherever in the world, do you feel at home? Home, they say, is where the heart is. If one is in Jamaica, you feel at home. If you're from different countries, like in Africa, you feel at home. When I go to Jamaica, I feel at home. Go straight to yard. Do you feel at home? Or do you feel a bit sort of displaced? Do you feel like you're just in another man's country taking up space? Do you feel your efforts and the things that you're doing is recognized and appreciated? Or you just feel like a walking dead or walking zombie? That's a big question that I put out there. And I love to get some feedback from that. You know, please comment in the different rooms. You can come in on YouTube. You can come in on Facebook. You can come in also on TikTok. As a matter of fact, I'll invite TikTok. If somebody wants to come in on TikTok, feel free as well. I'll invite you on TikTok to share your thoughts, to share your views as well. Because I've always been asked this question. And I don't know if you've ever been asked this question. You're of an age whereby you are in one of these countries, you've got your children, and you're getting up there in age, and persons say, go home, leave the Babylon system, you know, get out, you know, and they will say, this won't be of any benefit to you. So that's a viewpoint. I take the other viewpoint that just like when I went to Brixton on Friday, just like when I went to the hospital on Friday, and when I, on top of the bus, on this double decker, I remember in 1992 when I came to this country, I used to use the bus a lot, I'm trying to say, number 3 from Brixton to Crystal Palace, jump on the train. Remember when my cousin said to me, and he said, bro, take this travel card and take this ticket, this underground ticket, and go wherever. And if you get lost, all you got to do is just look for the underground sign. Never forget that. Look for the underground sign. That was the best advice I got. What I saw was lots of black people. What I saw was lots of Asian people. What I saw was lots of black and brown persons in the UK looking around. What I saw. And then you can't say that you're going to just jump up and just leave just because of uh, issues or so are not. It's like one has got to somewhat take your rightful place. I always say that years ago when the Windrush persons came and people came on invitation of king and queen and said to build the country, the mentality was one of not to build for yourself and build for your legacy. The mentality was one just to stay for a few years and go back home. Stay for a few years and go back home. The mentality was not one to build and to leave a legacy. There was not that thinking of political clout. There was not that thinking, I believe, of economic clout. What was being thought of was build the country, build the UK, build the train system, build the NHS, and go back home. That was the thinking. But lo and behold, while being here, then guess what happened? Got married. Then guess what happened after? You got children. Then guess what happened now? You can't just go back home now. Because guess what? You got family. Then you got to send the children to school. So therefore, after they become adults or so, you want to go back home. So the mentality of building wasn't there. The mentality of political clout wasn't there. And that is why I do admire all politicians in the UK. I admire all politicians in the UK who put themselves up forward for electoral office. All the relevant MPs, black, brown MPs, Asian or so. All of them who are standing for leadership, especially even in the Conservative Party. Kemi Badenoch, James Cleverly, the Dan Abbotts, the Don Butlers, Janet Davy, and all those different persons who are there, you know, you know, they could take a position of saying, "Me nah build this country. We're gonna leave and go to Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica." But guess what? And this is a reality. And as they say all the while, there's more, or could even be actually there could be more Jamaicans overseas than inside of Jamaica as well. And when I say Jamaicans overseas, I'm talking about Jamaicans of descent as well, right? Jamaicans and Jamaicans of descent, you know, which are in overseas than in Jamaica. So therefore, we have got to adopt um persons overseas. Persons overseas have got to adopt a mentality of taking over. And that is not saying you're taking over, but a mentality of actually believing that you belong. I remember years ago I was on this scheme with Operation Black Vote, and I shadowed a couple MPs in the UK. And while in the course of doing that, I was used, and I did a program called Politics in You. And Politics in You was one which by you can actually, you know, speak to some young people, uh, train them up, and then take them down to the House of Commons. And when I took them down to the House of Commons, there was Diane Abbott, there was Dominic Greaves, there was Simon Woolley, no, Lord Woolley, and one of the things that I said to the persons there, one of the things that I said to them was, you've got to actually claim and own the House of Commons. These are persons who were born here, black and brown persons. You've got to claim and own the Commons. Don't just see it only for the white indigenous persons. You've got to claim it. You got to accept it. You can't feel like anymore that you are a bystander. Yeah? Do you feel like a bystander? If that was the case, you wouldn't have I'm sorry, I was gonna imitate her by laughing. You would have Kamala Harris running to be the president of the United States of America. And she got a bloody good chance of winning it. Very good chance of winning it against Donald Trump. Very good chance of winning it. Next year, is it February, January the 20th or so? They could be President Kamala Harris. Father hail from Jamaica. And I can say that I went to school with her cousins. Hey, Mark Harris, that is if you're listening, as well from Brownstown. Claim it. And I believe what that can do, it may not impact the economy, it may not affect some sort of policies, it may not impact certain things like immigration that it may have, but what it will do, I believe it will settle in the minds of many migrants, immigrants. Yes, we can do it. Barack Obama, parents Kenya and American, did it. 2 terms, 8 years. Is it 8 years or 10 years? Kamala Harris, likewise. Claim it, accept it, and believe it. You see, you see, one has got to. I like this actually. I like this conversation actually. Um, didn't plan to say that much really, but it's good. It's good that I'm speaking like this, and I trust that persons are listening, and I trust and I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate your comments as well on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and Facebook. Remember to like and share as well. Let me just reset the room for a second. 1 second. Let me just reset the room. Here we go. That was a reset. That was a reset for the room. Yeah. What was I gonna say again? Yeah. I think that persons in the diaspora overseas, um, you got a lot coming to us, a lot that we can build on. For years, um, we have been here, and I have to say we. I came here just 1992, but people said you just come. 32 years being in the UK. I believe as well that it's an opportune time. I believe that this is a moment. I believe that even with the whole the more riots which took place of recent days, I believe for it's an opportunity for the leaders to actually lay hold of the fabric of the nation, lay hold of this time and this season whereby there's a fragile nature, not to let it just go by just by policies, um, for it not to just go just by police force and shut down and ostracize some racial, call them racist thugs, right wing, left wing, or so, you know, you know. But it's a time, I believe, of saying everyone at the sound of my voice, that is the prime minister, if anything, when he says he's the prime minister of the whole United Kingdom, for whether persons voted for him or not, but to actually listen. At a time to listen, a time to understand, and a time to hear what other persons are saying. A time to hear what everybody's saying. It is time. You know, someone I was listening to earlier, and what they said was that the UK and the indigenous persons are always looking for wars, always looking for fights. And what happened is that they go to the high seas and always try to conquer. There is no element of trying to appease or trying to talk. Yeah, they said that's the mentality of the Brits, if anything like that. But I would want to beg to differ, because when you look out there at the various demonstrations, hi Jenny, we look at the various demonstrations, and when you look at the different persons there in these demonstrations, they are not just black and brown persons, they're also white persons as well, who have joined the cause and wanted to make a difference. So I feel so my thing now with this whole topic about finding identity abroad, do immigrants ever feel at home? Do Jamaicans of recent days feel unsafe in the UK? That was something which I saw. I saw that on in the newspapers in Jamaica. And they mentioned a couple of persons. I know one of the persons I was trying to actually um contact the person and say, Virgin, you never tell me say you're scared, man. I didn't know you were scared in the UK. I'd like to know who's actually scared. Who's actually scared in the UK? You know, why are you scared? My some elderly folks which I spoke to who was been around for a long time, you know, been around from the the skinhead time, and they say, we're not scared, man. Let them come. Ready for them. Yeah, ready for them, ready like Freddy. So I don't believe um, Jamaicans were scared. Nah, Tony Forrest is scared, not Jamaican. I agree, Bertrand. So I question that newspaper clipping, which I saw in one of the newspapers in Jamaica, or a few of the newspapers doing the rounds, saying Jamaicans are scared. Jamaicans in the UK are scared of recent days. I say no, because I'm walking in the park every morning. I'm walking every day in the park. Actually, I'm more run from dog. I'm more run from the dog. And anything about it, you can't find any rock stone to next string. You know what I mean? When they try to find a rock stone, Philip on a dog. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I'm not going to hit on any dogs. You're getting to know the dogs them in the park a lot, But it's difficult to find a rock stone, though. Very difficult. You ever tried to find a rock stone in the UK on the ground? You can't find a rock stone, man. No, Jamaicans not scared. No, no, no. Jamaicans not scared. As a matter of fact, I go further. I go one step further. This protest and this rioting wasn't aimed at Jamaicans or black people. You know, nah, it wasn't aimed at Jamaicans or black people. Trust me. You know, nah, it wasn't aimed for Jamaicans or black. So I noticed the media houses try to incorporate it and say black and brown and say black people and blah blah blah. But this wasn't about black people in a way. This was religion. This was actually, this was the whole thing about Muslims. That's what I was seeing from my perspective. Because one of the fake news which was going around, and actually one don't know, because the gentleman or the vermin or the alien or the duppy that killed the three children and and attempted murder on the other 10, the the question which has been asked is two questions which were asked is, was the person being monitored by the authorities, and two, what was his religion, you know and what was said is that the religion was Muslim, and also was an asylum seeker. Those were the thing which was going around, and then that sort of created and infuriated a lot of persons. And then those who were really um sharp on the social media with TikTok was fueling this message, and then it reached to impressionable minds. Yeah, it reached to impressionable minds, And when it touches onto impressionable minds, then that's when it explode. Yeah, it explode into a frenzy, and that is why they say August the 7th. There is going to be much more, which was going to happen in August the 7th. The list of all these different law firms, list of all these different places where your asylum seekers will go for their legal um, surgeries, for their lawyers. Where did that come from? You see, it's like some questions are actually not being answered. And that is why you have the different disgruntled persons come up and go, because sometimes I don't believe that the authorities are very genuine and very honest with things. What do you think? Do you think the authorities are genuine and telling you everything, or just telling you what they want you to know, right? And then years after, it all unfolds, yeah, and things like that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking sip this Saturday night. Saturday night, I'm having a um, glass of wine. I'm alone tonight. I was actually expecting a couple persons, but yeah. But what can I say? The show must go on, and having this conversation, talking about finding identity abroad, finding identity in the diaspora. Do immigrants ever truly feel at home in the UK, in the USA, in Canada, or do you feel like you're somewhat displaced, or do you feel like you're begging bread, or you somewhat feel like you're a stranger? As someone said earlier, what did someone says? Not really, bro. You just feel off. You know, you feel off, feel just feel off in another man's country. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're in another man's country or another woman's country? Someone said the other day that there's always a strong woman behind the man, and I believe the wife grimaced a bit, because I'm sure the wife wanted to say a strong woman beside a man. you know, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that a while ago, but anyway. So, do you feel at home? Do you feel displaced? And do you just want to leave sometime? Want to just leave? Want to go home? Want to go a yard? Yeah. But the reality of it is that it is not so easy. And I've always said that, as I said earlier, that you know, persons can't run away and leave um, the big space of the UK, USA, and leave others there. You know, others there are there for a purpose. Leadership. Politicians like Farage and Braverman and Lee Anderson are to blame for the riots. Politicians like Farage and Braverman and Lee Anderson are to blame for riots. Now, that's coming through on TikTok, and Nigel Farage, for those who do not know, he's a Brexit man, and he's the leader of Reform, that party, and Braverman, who is conservative, so the former Home Secretary for Conservative, Asian, and Lee Anderson, also a part of the Reform now, who left the Conservative. They're saying these persons are to be blamed for the riots. They are to be blamed for the riots. They are to be blamed for the riots. I do question that about them being to be blamed for the riots, though. What I can understand that their actions and their narratives maybe have incited or maybe motivated or inspired um, persons to want to act that way based on the information or the 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 switch or the fire, you know, because it was a lot of fake news. You know, there are lots of fake news, and I hear what they're saying, that the rights are dubbed the far rights, and that is where I always have a problem with terms and terminologies. It's like persons will always try to find um, some sort of, what should I say, label, and so we actually say that we don't like the labels of boat people, asylum seekers, blah blah blah. But then at the same time, we're also labeling, and that's why I believe that there needs to be that conversation. Because a lot of rhetorics, a lot of words which have been used, and these words which have been used have not been very helpful over the years, over the 14 years. Yes, a lot of words which have been used to divide and to divide persons. I would say for the sake of vote sometimes. You cannot feel at home. It's not home. And home is a mental place. If you're not home in your mind, if you're if you cannot feel at home if it's not home, and home is a mental place if you're not home in your mind. That's what I always say. Home is where the heart is. I like that point which you mentioned there, action now, Jay. You cannot feel at home if it's not your home. Yeah. But do you feel at home in Jamaica? Or, because people in Jamaica might say that I don't feel at home in Jamaica. I don't know where I belong. Yeah. I feel at home maybe in Africa. And then someone will go to Africa and say I don't feel at home in Africa. You know? So so one so when it's talk, I don't know. I would say that I feel at peace in my mind. And you're right, because there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about in Jerusalem, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the world. You go to Jerusalem, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the world, um, and therefore Jerusalem is where you are. Then you go to Samaria and the uttermost parts. So where are you now? Are you in Jerusalem, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the world? And that means the mindset is very crucial and very important, and that is why some can do better than some, even in strange places and strange circumstances. And I believe, and you're right, the mindset is very powerful. The cognitive mental ability and functioning is so crucial. And lots of things can try to displace it. When you see this massive amount of persons in the diaspora, where you've got children of persons within the diaspora, even also even saying that they don't feel at home, is that then what should I say? Is that true to lack of leadership? Lack of leadership from the top, lack of leadership from the families, lack of leadership from the community, lack of leadership from parents or so. And sometimes I wonder, is it that we are biting off, or we are thinking it too much? Because this is the art for some. I don't know. So it's a very strong thinking. Yeah. Do immigrants ever feel at home? Do persons in the diaspora ever feel at home in the diaspora? Do they feel welcome? Do they feel at peace? Do they feel that they're building? Do they believe that they're part of the building process? The building process, as I mentioned earlier, is overwhelming. You know, the global connections, international relations. Immigrants strengthened global connections by creating links. I use, for argument's sake, between the UK and their countries of origin, enhanced trade, diplomacy, cultural exchange, soft power. UK openness to immigration enhances its soft power by fostering a positive international image as welcoming, diverse, and global. Healthcare, as I said earlier, significant proportion of the NHS workforce. I said again, a significant proportion of the NHS workforce consists of immigrants, doctors, nurses, support staff, play a crucial role in keeping the healthcare system functioning. I say one has got to adopt a mentality and try to foster something in our mindset that this is home. As a matter of fact, the whole world needs to be seen as home. Every island need to be a part of it. I always say that, and I said it on a couple of radio stations in the UK. I said that even with the whole aspect of asylum seekers, the boat persons, and all those persons who come to the country or so, one need to vet and see if they can be assimilated into the whole process. If they can be assimilated and be a part, look at their background, look at their strength, look at their weaknesses, look if they're doctors, they're lawyers, look if they're engineers, and see if they can assimilate because immigration is here to stay no matter what. Public life. Immigrants contribute to public life, participating in politics, community organization, volunteer work, enriches civil society. As we are seeing a lot of black and brown persons in the political era. The mayor of London, you know, from is an Asian guy. I feel at home owning Brixton, Lewisham, Peckham, and Croydon. Well, there you are. There you are. At least that's a start. Hey, Tony, I feel at home owning bricks. As a matter of fact, when I came to the UK, I felt more at home in South London, to be honest with you. Oh yeah, I didn't feel. I lived at other places in the UK, but I've always felt more at, you know, coming to this country, 92. I started off in Essex, but once I came to South London, Crystal Palace, or that region there, I felt at home, you know. And I must confess that sometimes even I go to Jamaica, and after a few weeks or so, you know, feel like going home. Strange, isn't it? You know, you know, going back home. You know, have to go back home. So yeah, um, you can be in the country and still not feel comfortable in different places. You know, challenges and public perception. While immigration brings numerous benefit, as I said, it also presents challenges. These include pressures on public services, housing, and integration. Public perception of immigration can be mixed, influenced by economic conditions, media portrayal, political discourse. You know, addressing these challenges requires effective policy making that maximizes the benefit of immigration while mitigating political downsides. But overall, immigrants bring significant value to the UK, to the USA, to Canada, enhancing its economic viability, cultural richness, and global influence. And that means if immigrants bring significant value to their second homeland, enhancing its economic value, vitality, cultural richness, and global influence, that means one needs to reach to the point within your mindset that this is home. This is home away from home. This is my Jerusalem here, now, and then. Yeah. My final saying in this whole scheme of things is that, and I'm going to be pushing this more, that I do believe that there needs to be uh, a national policy. If I was leader, there need to be a national policy, and there need to be a working together of various political groups, Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative, Green, Reform, SNP, and all of them, there should be a cross-party grouping. There should be a cross-party grouping. This is what I say. A cross-party grouping whereby looking for a national policy that transcend partisan, and very bipartisan, transcend the leftists, transcend the right, transcend the far right, transcend the far left. Everyone come together. Just like how they say in Jamaica, you got a Vision 2030. Just like how when you have great fundamental things that happen in the UK, football, feet, and everybody jump behind and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we say, oh, sweet Caroline, and everybody just come and say, it's coming home, it's coming home. Everybody come behind it. Just like when you have 7-7, people come behind and people empathize and people as a country mourn together of a national significance. So therefore, something of this nature now, which talks about immigrants, talk about migration, talks about multiculturalism, then I strongly believe that there need to be a bipartisan, parliamentary all-party committee that looks behind it. And when that comes together, then it should be a national policy. Yeah. So therefore, you change government, it doesn't change just like that. Let me see what's say here. Another thing, Jamaican need to stop telling children of Jamaican descent they are not Jamaican. Do they do that? Who do that? Do they? They shouldn't do that. Should tell them that they're Jamaicans, man. Yeah. You know, it's, I, yeah, tell them they're Jamaicans, but at the same time, while telling them that they're Jamaicans or Jamaican ancestry, that they're British, that they're born in this country. I think that is important because what can happen, I believe, is whereby the identity factor kicks in, the lack of identity, finding their identity. And if a man doesn't know who he is and what he's about, then he can be moved left and right and center by any whims of wind or doctrines or so that comes. So therefore, when it comes on to telling children who they are, it must be, shared with what it really is, that I'm Jamaican, well, you're born in the UK, of Jamaican ancestry. You have a choice of getting a Jamaican passport as well, applying for Jamaican citizenship, and have dual citizenship since it's allowed in the UK. But they must understand as well that they are British. They must understand that there is an identity factor which they must resonate with. Because if, and I believe that maybe, could be, maybe also Jamaicans have also contributed to this lack of identity. Maybe we have actually, by saying you're not, don't get comfortable here. This is not your home. If you want to tell your children it's not your home, don't get comfortably here. Jamaica is your home or whatever like that. Then they're gonna feel not a part of the soil, not a part of the fabric. And then guess what? They're not gonna go anywhere. And then guess what? They're gonna have children. And children. And that is why I said earlier, when the people with the Windrush came to the UK, the mentality was not one to build and to leave a legacy. The mentality was to work and go back home. 3-4 years, go back home, make some money. Right, right. That was the mentality. The mentality wasn't to build political clout. It wasn't to build economic clout. It wasn't there to build legacy and to leave something. It was actually to work and to go back home. But through the process of and that plan was thwarted. There was a interference that took place. That interference that took place was that plans change. You had children, yeah. You got married, and therefore one has got to rethink. Now what you're living for now is your children, getting them through school, working, getting them through school, working, getting them through school, and then building something back home as well. Build a big house. You build a big house. When you build a big house, you can't even go and live in the big house because after you go there for a while, you got to come back because of the NHS factor, because of the health. Because maybe want to have that confidence in the system back home. And therefore, you see this cycle. And I believe that is what somewhat causes this lack of identity because one is not impressing on the children that, hey, you belong here as well. And that's very important, very, very important on the parents, you know, to, to, to let the children know. And then by virtue of such, and get involved in the police. I mean, even the police system there as well. No couple of police and them said race is bad. You know what I'm saying? But that's a hard one because really and truly, you know, if you don't even join the police force as well, you know, that's a tough one. We already made to feel we don't belong in the UK, and some Jamaicans made us feel we don't belong in Jamaica. Ah, Tony, that's a good one. That's a good one, ladies and gentlemen. This one is we already we're already made to feel we don't belong in the UK, and some Jamaicans make us feel we don't belong in JA. I've heard that before, and there can be a level of arrogance with Jamaicans from Jamaica or born in Jamaica in relation to and communication with uh, Jamaicans of Jamaican ancestry in the UK. So that's a problem, Tony. You see, right there, that's the problem we have now, whereby don't feel welcome back home in JA, and you don't feel welcome in the UK. How do we fix that? How do we fix that? How do we fix that issue there? That's a good one. That's a very good one. You know, that's a very good one, I must say. I think in a way that we've got to. That's a tough one. That's really a tough one. That really got me. That's really got me. I must say, that's really got me because I've heard about it many times, and I've heard about it that at the same time that there is tiff sometime between Jamaicans born in Jamaica and Jamaicans born in the UK. This is a conversation. These are the just like I mentioned about the conversation that need to be had between different races in the country via leaders. This is also some of the conversation that need to be had with with Jamaicans because we somehow have to feel at home. If we are trying to deal with this whole thing about identity, yeah, identity is so crucial. I always talk about it. Once a man knows who he is and what he's about, then he becomes unstoppable. Once a man or a woman knows who they are, they become unstoppable. And Marcus Garvey always talk about this. We know up united people, united. One has got to be so strongly united. You know, you know. But I believe. Hi, Bibsy Boo. How are you doing? you know, this Tony, you got me on that one there. I know you, Tony. I know you, Tony, very well as well. And that is something that it's deep, it's profound. But so we are talking about within communities. There are discord within communities as well, not just between the races, but within the community. There discord because it's very crucial for the identity to be understood. Yeah, because a lot of Jamaicans are having children in the UK who weren't born in the UK, right? And myself, likewise, I've got children, and my children say they are Jamaicans. Actually, my son was actually saying that my sister should keep him in Jamaica after recent holidays. But you know, but I do let them know as well that they are born in this country and they are British of Jamaican ancestry, and they can get their Jamaican passport at whenever they want it, because there's got to be a foundation. There's got to be a structure. That foundation is so crucial, because if there's not that foundation and that structure where they feel like they belong, then they will not have solid root. There need to be roots that go deep, deep, deep down. You know, so one cannot stay on the periphery of things, if you know what I'm trying to say. Identity, finding identity abroad, has a lot to do with one's base and one's focus, one's structure, one root. As I said before, years ago, the mentality was not to build with a political clout and an economic clout. There was not to build, it was just to come to the UK after the Windrush and go back a yard. And why I say that? Because I had an uncle. And he always said to me, want to go home, want to go home, go home, want to go home. You know, that's the thing. Well, never saw this as home. Never saw this as home. A lot of people don't see the UK as home. And therefore, if you don't see it as home, then you can't identify with a base structure. And therefore, when things don't go right or things go well, the first thing one wants to do is up and to leave. But then what you're doing and what is happening, you're leaving the children. And now the children somehow might become headless. And as I said before, and that is why I admire all those politicians who actually step into the frame to be political lead. I'm talking black and brown persons, um, conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, or so, must be applauded. And I applaud Kamala Harris. I applaud the former Welsh, the leader for the Welsh, and also the leader for SNP for Scotland, even though things went wrong for them. But what they have done, they have shared and they have shown that this can be done. So my thinking then, and I'm glad that I'm seeing this now in a way, and it is coming home in a way that as persons in this country, in the United Kingdom, black and brown persons, persons of Jamaican ancestry, persons of different ancestry, you have got to dig and set your root down into the UK. Because if you don't, you're always going to feel not at home. You're going to feel displaced. And you're going to feel, say, I don't feel like I belong. And then you got to ask yourself the question, why don't you feel like you belong? Who told you that you don't belong? Who told you that you don't belong? When the passport and the birth certificate says otherwise. If the passport says that you are, um, British, you're British. But people may not want to accept it and to claim it. You know, when I go into House of Commons sometimes, at a poor killer's house, or even at the palace, one of the things that you see there in Westminster at the House of Commons, you see a lot of young people walking around. A lot of young people, like fresh out of university or whatever, they're called researchers. And these are the researchers that somewhat formulate some of the ideas that goes into these policies, to these ministers. These persons come from different schools or whatever like that, and they are the shapers of tomorrow policies. And it is very important, and I always say that for persons and for black, brown persons to get their children also into the House of Commons and to be researchers. Don't worry too much about the racism thing. Racism will come, man. It will come. These things will come. You got to tough it out. You got to be a martyr for the cause, figuratively. You know, everyone that has moved up to a certain level had to experience it. Barack Obama had to experience it. Even Rishi Sunak had to experience it. Kamala Harris is going through it with a fire. But you have to be belong, because if Kamala Harris didn't feel that she is an American, if she don't feel that, even though she was of a South Asian background, of Jamaican background, and feeling not homed in or had that foundation structure in the United States, she wouldn't have that sense of actually gazing down that person and said, I am talking. If you want to vote for Donald Trump, vote for Donald Trump. But right now, I'm talking. And then she lifts her eyebrows. Hmm? That's a person with confidence. That confidence must have come by someone instilling something in her, that even though she's of one half South Asian, one half Jamaican, but being born in America, she was able to hold it down and to say, I'm American. So I say to the whole issue when it comes on to finding identity abroad, need to encourage our children, need to encourage persons that are born in the UK, that you belong, and to move away from the mentality of, just as they say, I'm just passing through. And I'll say it again, because I wrote an article some years ago about, you know, bankruptcy of the wills. No, not that one, actually. There wasn't that one. It's about political clout and economic clout. What was lacking when the Windrush generation came? And nothing to do, not a bad thing, but there was not that mentality to build. There was not that mentality to leave a legacy. The mentality was just to come in and build up the NHS, build up the train tracks, get back the UK on track after the war. Or there was not that mentality for individual persons to build up themselves. And therefore, the mentality was just to work and then to leave. But then children came, marriage came, then one gets stuck. One has got to stay in the system. And then for years and years, going around in circles, just living, just living, just living, just living. But now's the time that one has got to have and to build legacies. Now's the time for persons in the diaspora, if you have not already, to build and leave legacy and to claim that this is your home. Claim and determine that this is your home. Just because you're born Jamaican, of Jamaican ancestry, that doesn't mean to say that you just say I'm Jamaican and then you forget the UK. Because guess what? As Tony said a while ago, gonna have a problem. You may claim Jamaica, but when you go to Jamaica, they don't accept you as Jamaicans. Oh yes. If you go to Jamaica, they don't accept you as Jamaican. And you go in the UK and you see you don't feel a part of the UK, and therefore you are now headless chicken going around in circles. Hey Vita, how are you? You know? So one has got to really think this thing through, ladies and gentlemen. You know, think it through very deeply, think it through very strategically, as much as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tonight. Actually, it's gonna be a one-man show tonight as well. But I just wanted to go against the grain and go against the frame of the narratives of today, and the topic which and just for a recapping, ladies and gentlemen, the topic that I had was finding identity abroad. Finding identity abroad, and let me just put it up here. Finding identity abroad. Do immigrants ever feel at home? Went through a lot, but just recapping. And the key thing is that persons sometimes don't feel like they are part of the UK. And if you don't feel like a part of the UK, then you cannot settle. And the mindset, if you don't have that peace in your heart and in your mindset that this is home, then that's going to be so difficult. And therefore, you're going to put your heart on Jamaica. And then at the same time, you come back and realize that Jamaicans are saying that you're not Jamaican. You're a fake Jamaican. You try to speak patois, you can't speak patois. You're not Jamaican. You're British. As a matter of fact, they'll see you're English. Yes. And that is what's going to actually freak out some British people over here. Because they'll say, you're not Jamaican, you're English. You don't say British, you're English. And of course, that's a problem there with lots of black people. Don't want to be called English, called British. But when you're in Jamaica, they see you're English. So my thinking is build upon your political clout right now in the UK. Build upon your economic clout right here in the UK as well. And don't just leave it for other persons. And if you got children as well, tell your children that they are born in the UK, they are British, and they are of Jamaican ancestry, but they need to build, they need to get involved in politics, they need to get involved in all these different factors of the state, because really and truly, one is here and one is not going anywhere. All right, so that's it. So any further ado, let me see. Anyway, what are you drinking? Today's Saturday, and it's a great evening, a great day. I want to say have a good night and God bless you. And as I said, I really want to bring up that point which I said earlier about the Prime Minister of Jamaica, when he mentioned that the misinformation, the disinformation is not good, and they'll be tracing and tracking. And lo and behold, it has been highlighted in the UK of tracing and tracking of the recent rioters. And they are going to court because of the misinformation and the disinformation. And Jamaica need to take a lesson and take a page out of that book, which is happening in the UK now, because with social media, things have changed totally. All right. And so peace out. God bless you. And have a good night.